Does that hit the expectations?
Yep.
Awesome.
And somebody just asked if we can record it, and I just clicked on it. I am now recording. So yes, I will record this for you guys.
And I forgot, Kim Dunbar wanted us to record, so I'm glad that you did that.
Yep, doing it.
Awesome. So, here we go. A CMA is more than mathematics. So just a couple bullet points. Although it's important to know sales in a particular area, it's not just this home sold for $350, this home sold for $400, this home is now hitting the market, and I think we should list it for $415. There's a lot involved, and it's important to know your local market and what are ways that you can get to know your local market. Let's start with that. How are you going to learn about the local market?
We're talking to you guys.
Yeah.
We're all looking up here. They can do it too.
Yeah. And anyone online, how can you develop local market knowledge? What's the number one thing you can do?
Preview homes.
Preview homes. Look at properties. Thank you, guys. So the value of previewing homes, learning subdivisions. Why does one home in Cherry Hills sell for X amount versus a home in Castle Rock of a similar square footage? Why does a property pull more value in downtown Denver than it does up in Evergreen? So you need to get out, expand your horizons, and we sell real estate in the entire Denver metro area. So you're going to have to break it down. Maybe you want to specialize in a particular area, but you need to learn all sorts of areas because you're going to get referrals from people that live in downtown Denver, that live in Littleton, that live in Lakewood. And you're going to want to know the differences in those pockets and in those areas so that when you walk into a home, you can go, oh, this will sell for X range. So knowing floor plans, knowing builders, knowing quality of construction, knowing amenities. What a home has when it was built in 1950s is going to be a little bit different than a home that was built in 2015. What are those things that buyers are looking for these days? Anything you want to add?
I'm sorry, I'm doing technology.
You're doing technology.
I would get this.
PowerPoint.
I know, I'm trying to get PowerPoint up at the same time as,
Oh.
well, at least the texting, because you can talk and we don't need to see you, but people are texting and we're not seeing that at the same time. So I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm
Gotcha.
trying to do a couple things at the same time.
There'll be a little dust in this class as we work out the kinks.
This is awesome.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, visit resale and visit new construction. But you guys should on a daily basis, if you're not working with a buyer or seller, go out and look at homes. You like houses, go look at homes.
Yeah, I was saying that in the sales meeting, obviously, if you guys were there or were online, that look at them now. Don't wait till you have a house that you need to put on the market and then start figuring it out. You should be doing it right now and getting to know all markets. You're not quite sure where your client's going to come from. I mean, most of us don't work a location. You know, that was years ago. That I work only this area because I live within 5 miles and out. Most of us work friends, family, sphere of influence, and they might live from Evergreen to Highlands Ranch to downtown Denver. So I would start, if you're new, obviously start in your area, get to know it, start close, and then expand your territory. You should know off the top of your head, what's Hilltop area downtown versus out in, I can't think of it.
Out in
Out east,
Yeah,
just
exactly.
east. How many letters? East, just east of downtown. Stapleton.
Stapleton or Lowry.
Stapleton, yeah, Lowry. I mean, you need to start knowing these areas. So when someone says, I live in Highlands Ranch and I have a 4-bedroom, 3-bath, triple car garage, you should already have an idea of what that is going for. Now, I don't know if you back up to the green belt and if you've got, just the old maple cabinets that all these houses came with, and you still have the gold fixtures, but you should have a range of knowledge of what that home should be. I mean, that's being a local expert. It doesn't mean just knowing down the street. It means kind of knowing the territory. You should know what KB is building. You should know what, I don't even know who the builders are out there anymore. Right?
Yeah, Toll Brothers.
Toll Brothers.
Shane Homes.
Yeah, Tri-Point. I mean, you should,
Richmond.
that's the fun stuff, is going and looking at new construction, go look at model homes and be nice to the salespeople. I've got a friend and she's looking at joining us. She got her license several years ago, but was nervous about the industry. So she's been doing new home sales, which, who's she with?
Out in Perdera, you're talking about?
Yeah, well, she was Perdera, now she's it's dead. She has like one person come by. It's just boring. Oh no, she's in the Heritage Hills.
Yes.
I mean, there's not much going on in Heritage Hills. There's only a handful of homes. But she said, you'd be amazed at the agents that come in. They're kind of not nice. They're not friendly. They're a little snooty. And this is the person who's meeting buyers that maybe they need a realtor, and go befriend these people at open or at the new sales places and get to know and be friendly. You just never know what's going to come of it. That's a great way to know the market. Is you got to go out. You got to see them, because I don't have my chat up, but you can pipe in whoever just took the RPR CMA class. I can't remember who said they did it. But if you can speak, if you have an audio, you can tell us about that.
It was me. It's Amaret, sorry.
Oh, it was
That
Amaret.
sounds like Amaret.
Okay. So yeah, you took a pretty cool program, huh?
Yeah, no, it was great. It was incredibly overwhelming because a lot of the properties that I work with are up north, and it's easier to comp, and just because of the track homes up there. But I loved it, and it had me so excited with some of the sellers that I'm working right now. So I didn't even know that this class was happening until the round table this morning. I thought, well, I don't feel well, so I'm just going to stay here and get my learning on. So but yeah, all the adjustments that you can make in RPR, all the reports that you can pull out or add to, it's phenomenal. It really is. It's a great resource for us.
Awesome.
Yeah, no, RPR, it's been a buyer and a seller system, giving them reports, and we've been using it kind of as CMA, but they've upped their game, and you can actually make CMAs with it.
Yeah, there's a new CMA
adjusting, and you can select properties easier. It's pretty nice. But we're not going to go. You take a class, like Amaret said, go to RE Colorado, learn how to use it, and you got to play with it a lot, because yeah, we played with it, and
it's pretty comprehensive. And for those of you that don't know what RPR is, it's you pay for it with your realtor dues. So it's a product that only realtors have access to. And yeah, just go to narrpr.com. Realtor Property Resource is what it stands for. And you can literally type in an address anywhere in the US, and it'll pull up an estimated value for that property. And it goes based upon public records, MLS data. So if you have a friend that's calling you and you're sitting on the phone and they say, hey, I'm thinking about selling my home, you can type in their address while you're talking and say, okay, yeah, I'd love to come take a look. It looks like, prices in your neighborhood are between $375 and $425, because it gives you an estimated range. And then you can kind of, go from there with your dialogue. It just makes you look like an expert in the industry in moments. Or if you have a friend that lives in Florida and they don't have any intention of selling, but they're curious what their home is worth, you can log on real quick, type in their address and say, hey, I'm not a local market expert in your area, but based upon the algorithms, it looks like your home's worth $5.25. So it's kind of a cool tool.
It's great for referrals too. When someone asks you to get them a referral in a different state.
Okay, how do you utilize it for that?
Well, because I want to kind of vet the agent before I send them to a referral. And so when I talk to a potential referring realtor or referred realtor, I want to know as much as I can to see if they know as much as they should.
Oh, okay.
So I want to already have a kind of idea of what it should be listed at, and and how I can look through the comps and I can see how other agents have marketed photos, things like that.
I like that, good suggestion.
I use it to get to appraisers all the time too,
Okay.
to use that data to support, our price
Okay.
on the property.
Very nice. Very nice.
So you have the CMA, right, that we're going to show?
Yes, exactly.
But-
Yeah.
So we will show you a CMA, and we'll show you how you should communicate the CMA to people. Just some basic stuff right here. A CMA should be objective and subjective. So this is where our experience really might be greater than that of an appraiser, because we are going in so many different homes and we hear so much feedback from buyers. When a buyer tells you what they're looking for and what they like about a property and what they don't like about a property as you're showing them homes, they're telling you what the market is. And an appraiser doesn't get to do that. An appraiser gets to go in the home after the fact, but they're not talking to buyers and hearing what are people looking for? Well, what's the new thing? What's important to people now? It might have been distance to and from work. And then maybe we started seeing that distance to and from activities is more important to and from work. Or maybe it's more important to be close to a theater or social. We hear that stuff before an appraiser starts figuring out where's the market going, where's it moving. So when I say objective and subjective, yeah, objective is square footage, number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, location. Your subjective part, objective is, yeah, the feel, the looks, things that you're hearing from the buyer. So, and that's where we have our skill. So when comparing homes, there's lots of different things to look at, you can't just do this on the computer, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Too many people want to have the MLS or RPR and just plug in a range and here it is. And we get that. We get that from you guys. We'll have someone send us a CMA straight from MLS and ask us, what do you think? And all they've done is send us the comps. And I say, what do you think? I'm like, I don't know. I haven't been in your subject property. I haven't been in the other properties that are for sale. Obviously, I'm not in the ones that have sold, but you might have been had you been previewing for the last 6 months, year. You'll actually know that the house down that street that sold that you can't get in today, but you were in it 4 months ago, you'll know what it was like. So you'll have a better grasp of being able to compare these things. So there's a lot to it, a lot more than just pulling it up on the computer and saying, here's the range. That does not work. And we're going to show you how detailed we get in comparing these homes when we're talking to our sellers. Obviously, you do want to look at the basics, your square footage. You want to keep it within a few hundred feet of each other. You don't want to be comparing a ranch home with a 2-level. Those are 2 totally different homes.
Or a home that doesn't have a basement with a home that has 2,500 square feet finished in the basement. Going to be 2 totally different values.
If it's the only homes in the area that have sold, then that's what you get. Well, then you do have to kind of get your appraiser hat on and figure out what is the value of a finished basement. And you're going to have to pull that out. But you're going to try and keep this as comparable as possible.
And usually it's good to try and start within a 1-mile radius when you're dealing with tract homes and subdivision properties. Stay within 1 mile, and if you can keep it within that same subdivision, that's going to be best. It's going to be same builder, same quality of construction, same age. If you can't find the comps, then you can go out 2 to 3 miles. And if you still can't find something because it's rural property, you can match like communities with other like communities. So if you know that Parker has a neighborhood where homes sit on 1.5 acres and they were built in the 70s, and you can find another community like that in Littleton that has similar qualities, if they are like to like, an appraiser will utilize those, so you can utilize those comps when pricing as well.
Now, if you're doing stuff that's on acreage, horse property or 5 acre, I mean, you might have to go further.
And you might not find anything like it.
And that's, again, back to the mandatory update when we're talking about being an expert in your area.
Sure.
And it doesn't mean you can't do it, but you better learn the area, get advice, inquire, educate yourself. But if your best friend has a 60-acre equestrian setup in Kiowa, and all you've ever sold are houses in Denver, you're gonna be doing them a disservice. So you're gonna need to either get educated or team up with somebody on that.
Might not be a bad idea when you're doing a CMA to drive past the under contract and the sold properties and see where they're positioned. Are they in a quiet cul-de-sac? Do they have a larger lot? Do they back to a busy street? Are they up against power lines? What are some of those things that you can't see in the MLS photos? Because we all know how great we are with photography these days, and oh, I'm going to take this out and I'm going to shade that differently. I'm going to take it from this angle. And there may be a power plant in the backyard and you're trying to figure out, why did this home sell $15,000 less?
No, that's huge. Yeah, drive, I mean, obviously you can't get in them, but drive past them. I mean, especially like I'm thinking Founders Village. I mean, there are homes that are backed up right to those power
And it
lines.
says backs to greenbelt, backs to open space, great privacy. Sure, it has great privacy, but it kind of cancels itself out when you've got this
Yeah, the loud
vibrating in the backyard.
Age, obviously, you want to keep similar types of homes. You want to, within 5 years, if you can, especially, that is easy to do in a subdivision like Highlands Ranch or something downtown. You want to keep the houses that are in Wash Park and Wash Park. Those are very similar. They're built at the same time, unless one was a scrape. I mean, you got to look at that kind of stuff, obviously. Upgrades and renovations, yeah. I mean, hardwoods, remodels, was it a pop top? All that kind of stuff is very important. Design, style, landscaping. For me, a backyard, it can add a ton of value. Again, we're back to the buyer. A buyer might see more value if that's something that they're really looking for. They want the trees and a little water feature and the beautiful deck with a fire pit. And some could care less. They've got 2 dogs. They want to throw in the backyard, and so I would be willing to pay an extra $15,000 or $20,000 for that incredible backyard. Somebody else might not see the value. So you're gonna have to try and figure out, who does this house fit for? So that will raise the value on a backyard or a view for some, but not all, which means you're gonna narrow your playing field in a tight market when there aren't as many buyers. The value of that kind of value isn't as great. In a hot market like today, that value is worth more because we have enough buyers out there that we're not making it the word we sometimes like and don't like in this business for your home is what? I have a very unique home.
Unique. When you see the word unique, you're like, oh.
When there aren't a lot of buyers, unique is not a good thing. When we have a lot of buyers, unique could be cool. So you gotta watch the market. Yeah, unique will narrow down the buying pool. When you have a smaller buying pool, basis of supply and demand, it goes down. You got a big buying pool right now, unique might actually add value because we have 5 people that are looking for that unique house versus 1 person looking for a unique house. Makes a big difference.
Yeah. Other subjective qualities, just to kind of keep on your radar, would be odors in a home that you can't tell from the MLS. Carpet that needs to be replaced, or a home that is lived in. I mean, if you have 4 kids, odds are the walls aren't in perfect condition and the cabinets might be a little bit rough, but you can't necessarily tell that stuff from the photos. So previewing, constantly previewing. That way when you're sitting down with a seller, you can be like, you know what, this home sold for this amount. Your home ranks higher because I've been in that house, and you have this, and you have this, and you have this. Plus they had 8 cats and 5 dogs and 4 birds, and those are things you can't see, but you have to be able to identify, because it will make a huge difference in your pricing strategy. So analyzing the data, take your time. I think a lot of us want to rush through this process, and the process of doing a CMA should take you an entire afternoon, if not a full weekend. If you're going to go out and actively look at listings that are currently on the market in the neighborhood that's going to be the competition of your subject property, if you're going to review the comparables for the under contracts and the solds, if you're going to drive by everything that you're going to put into your CMA to know location, geographics, what it's close to, what the negatives are for each of those properties, and if you're going to study the seasonality and in the market data of what's going on today versus December versus last summer versus what we're anticipating in March, it's going to take you some time. So don't rush through the process. Again, we talk about previewing. Get inside those active listings. Really review the photos of those solds. If you are suspicious about a price that for a home that sold really, really high, if it's $15,000 over the other comparables, or a home that's maybe $20,000 less than the median in that neighborhood, pick up the phone and call the agent. Call the listing agent or the sales agent and say, hey, I'm utilizing this property as a comp. Can you tell me, I noticed that it sold, $15,000 over what is going on in the market right now. Is there a reason for that? And most of the time they're willing to share information with you.
I'm trying to think of, what was that one property when we were pricing our home in the brownstones,
Okay.
and had that one house that was like 25,000 over. And I know you called the agent several times. Did we ever get back?
No, she never got back to me. But yeah, we were trying to
That
price
was
our
way
own
off.
property, and it was so substantially high. And I was looking at the photos, they didn't have anything above and beyond the granite and the hardwoods. And so I couldn't figure out, do you walk in and smell jasmine? I mean, what is it about this home? It didn't front to a part. There was nothing that made it appear to be that much more desirable. And I wasn't able to get a return call. So I threw that out and didn't even utilize it as a comp. I threw out a high and I threw out the low because I just wasn't willing to risk coming on the market too high and then having to chase the market backwards. Even in a good market, you have to be strategic, because you will lose a lot of money for your seller if you say, hey, we're in the best selling market. Let's price your house, way above what the comps are because I think we can get it. I think doesn't always get you to the closing table.
And I think most of us that are experienced and are doing this have a story where we priced it right, it sold quick, and we have multiple offers. And then we have a story where we priced it where they wanted to price it, which is a little high, and it sat for a handful of weeks, and we had to come down, and we didn't get the multiple offers. When had we started with that price, we probably would have gone up. I mean, it's a fine line of going too much and not getting the excitement and having, people know in today's market, I have to pay full price, maybe a little bit more. So if you're overpriced by a little bit, people are going like, it's not worth it. And they want me to pay more than that too. So they don't even see it. So you gotta be right on there. Great question from Amanda. Working with someone currently remodeled home, and that's a great, however, there's smokers in the home. I'm making assumptions, but think this will be a deterrent. Thoughts?
Major deterrent.
Huge.
Yeah.
They've just lost what?
I was gonna say
$30,000?
25 to 30,
Yeah,
potentially.
that is like,
We went in a house in Brighton a couple weeks ago, and it was a duplex, and the one was in really good shape. The second was in really good shape, except when you went in the basement, and it smelled like cat urine, like to the point your eyes watered.
Oh.
Yep.
And we were out as soon as you smell that, because that's a hard one to get out.
Yep.
It's very expensive.
those are two of the worst smells, and $20,000 to $30,000 you are losing period.
Yeah, especially in a house where a smoker's been, I mean, you have to pull out the carpet, pull out the pad, put kills on the floor, but
Special paint.
special
Yeah.
paint on the walls. I mean, it's so hard to get rid of that, so hard.
But it's worth them doing it. I mean, it might cost them $10,000, but if they don't do that, they're gonna lose 30. I mean, you that's one of those things, well, I get my money back. Yes,
And more.
and more, way more. Yeah. So yeah, fix the cat and fix the smoke. And that's our job, is to be real with people and let them know. I mean, they've lived there a long time and they don't notice it, but it's our job to be truthful and honest and show them how much they will lose. I know it's a hard thing sometimes. Maybe it's not that bad of a thing. Maybe it's a color, their kitchen that they painted red that they just love. Our friend Rachel, oh my God, when she
Her house
painted it.
glows, like you walk in and the paint's so vibrant, but she's just a very bubbly, upbeat kind of person. She likes it. And yeah, when we sold this house to her and she's like, Stacey, I repainted. We did the ceilings, we did the trim, we repainted everything, come see it. And I walked in and I said, Rachel, it looks great, but when we go to sell, we're getting rid of it. And so, yeah, she knew that my expectation was that when she wanted to leave that home, she was gonna have to repaint it all realtor beige. But for her, it worked. She loved that color, but nobody else would love
No.
coral and,
No.
I mean.
Well, it's funny though, she did end up changing the paint color probably a year before they sold. And she's like, I really like it. When she went
It's
just
so
to
neutral. Everything goes with it.
But yeah, you gotta have those conversations. And we remember having those conversations, or not having conversations. We had a listing on the Blue House.
Goosander
Goosander.
in Province Center, just south of Highlands Ranch off Colorado Boulevard.
I live on Goosander.
Okay, there you
What
go.
house is it?
So it's in the cul-de-sac.
cul-de-sac.
It sits on the corner. I'm not sure which corner that is, but it's now tan and it has burgundy shutters.
But it was like a periwinkle blue.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a bad blue, and this is way back. We're going back
This is back
12
in
years ago.
2002,
maybe
one?
even longer. And I mean, beautiful house.
Beautiful inside,
Beautiful.
staged perfectly, taste amazing.
We would sit inside there doing the open house. Oh, here comes a
Hard
Yeah.
drive.
They wouldn't-
They'll come in, it's beautiful. Just don't worry about the paint. Just come in.
And yeah, we had it for several weeks, and we're like, oh, I mean, they had just painted it. I mean, it was,
Oh, man.
yeah.
Just that color.
Oh, they picked
And
that.
so we're advertising new exterior paint, new.
It's like, how do we tell these people?
So I think you said, you tell them, you're much nicer. They can't get mad at you. And I didn't call them up. I called them up and I said, can we meet in person? I want to talk to you about what I think is affecting the saleability of your home. And so we sat down and I said, I'm a straight shooter. This is nothing personal, but we've got to repaint the exterior of your home. And what did they say?
We never liked it anyway.
It was,
It was the wrong
It was the
color.
wrong color. They painted the wrong color. We decided not to say anything, but we hate it. We will gladly repaint it. You pick it out and we will do it this weekend. Repainted it that weekend, sold.
Sold within a day. Yeah.
Awesome.
But yeah, they're like, that wasn't the color it was supposed to be. But what are you gonna do? They're like, that's what we just.
And we were so terrified.
We
And
were
I was
just, oh, they're
sweating.
so
bullets.
nice. We just.
I even blame it on the buyer's agent. Well, the feedback I'm receiving.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Really do not like the
Exactly.
exterior painting.
I do a lot of staging, so the stage, when I go in and I find all of these things with the smell and the paint and
Mhm.
everything, the agents love it because then they can just blame it on me.
Yes.
And I'll say, because I have one agent that can't smell anything, so I go in and I usually say, yeah, this one's really bad. Or we need to change this, or colors, or things and stuff like that. So they just say, oh, the stager says you need to do this.
No, it's perfect. Blame it on someone
Third
else.
parties are great.
And that's another great reason to go preview homes, because when you walk in, what do you smell? What do you
Oh, yeah.
see? All those first impressions, oh, they've got a bunch of coats on this coat rack and shoes everywhere. I'm gonna remind my people when I'm coaching them along, we need to take this down, we need to declutter, but yeah, it's great practice. So you can identify the things you like when you walk into a home and the things that you dislike.
So Terry Cooper, said that she had received an offer on a listing based on a sold comp that was 15,000 lower. She called the listing agent to understand why the price was so low for the similar house, and the buyer's agent and the commission was waived, which was a difference. Unfortunately, it didn't get input in the MLS. So calling the agent obviously helped find that out. They resubmitted and got the price that they wanted, but it's good to call and find out why is this skewed? This doesn't sound right.
So yeah, if you're backing out a
Thanks,
commission,
Terry.
that makes a huge difference.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you, Terry. Very, very good. I think we got everything on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about ranking homes when we
Okay.
get into the CMA portion of it.
We got that.
So I think now we'll lead into a demonstration of a CMA that I did years ago. I think it might have been back in 2015. And we'll just kind of talk about how I pulled the comps, how I developed the report, how I articulated and communicated the information by analyzing the data. And then once we go through that, we should have enough time for me to hop into the MLS, and we'll actually do a mock CMA real quick, just to show you guys, for those who have never done one on the computer, how you can put together a CMA once you have the data in a relatively quick amount of time. So,
That was also Providence Center. I'm gonna start farming a little harder.
yes.
Yeah.
So it's under this. There's a folder, CMA class. So that's the evaluation that I did. There's the explanation that I sent to the sellers. I've got all the comps that I used in it.
First.
So this is a CMA that I ran on RPR, and I mixed in a bit of matrix as well. There are a lot of components that I don't particularly like about RPR, but now that they've changed their CMA tool, I think it's a much more valuable product. But previously, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, it would pull the data, but it didn't allow you the ability to change the data. So for example, I would be comping a townhome and it would pull the single family homes in the surrounding neighborhood. Well, you can't compare a townhome with a single family home, two totally different products, but it didn't give you the ability to take those comps out that you didn't want to use. So I always like the cover page. I think the cover page looks very professional. It has your photo, it has your contact information, it has the logo. If it has any photos of the property from a previous sale, it automatically imports that. So oftentimes you can have a nice exterior shot of the property, and then you can put the seller's name on there. And so it says at the top the property address, and just below it, it says presented for John and Jennifer. So then when you scroll through, there are a lot of different pages that I really like, particularly the one that says the current estimated value. And it tells, based upon the comps that RPR pulls, which although I don't like the comps they show in the report, the value is always very, very close. So I like the value, I like showing the range in the neighborhood, and I love being able to tell my clients how much their home went up in a 1 month period of time and how much it went up in a 1 year period of time. The home facts just kind of talks a little bit about the property, just to kind of confirm that I've got the right information about the home. Pretty easy form. And then the next page, I believe, is where I start to, okay, so I do one more, which is the seller sales information. So it tells when they bought the home, if they did any refinances, and kind of what historical values look like, whether we're on an upswing or whether we're on a downswing. So just a helpful chart for anyone who's an engineer, likes kind of the mathematics side of things. And then I transition into the CMA report from Matrix. And those are the only pages that I utilize from RPR, because I think Matrix RE Colorado outlines the information in a way that is very impactful and a way that hits people depending on their learning style. Are they a charts and graphs person? Do they like looking at just, the numbers? How do they learn? How do they interpret data? So I like having the map showing where the comparable properties are located in relationship to theirs. And I can point out whether there's a busy road or whether there's a power line or whether there's a park, things that are positive or negative in nature for those properties.
What was this made on?
This was made in RE Colorado on Matrix.
This is just Matrix.
Just Matrix.
Through their CMA button.
Through their CMA button. Yep. So that's always a mandatory page for me. Then we get into the CMA Pro Report, which is all part of the CMA button. It gives you like 20 different pages you can print. I like this one because it tells me my averages. It tells you the sold and the under contract, the lowest price, the highest price, the average, and the price per square foot. And then it starts to break down each property individually. And go back up just a touch. What I really like in the bottom of this is it tells the property address, the list price versus the sold price. So you can see whether you're in an appreciating market, whether you're in a declining market, whether you're getting list price or below list price. And then it also tells you the average days on market, which is really helpful as well. And then this report goes a little further in depth, and it just provides a few charts outlining the information that was just referenced in the other pages above. So depending on how people interpret and review data. And then it breaks down each property individually. And so I like that you can see the exterior photo. I like that it tells the style of the home, the days on market, the year built, the parking, the bedrooms, the bathrooms, list price, sold price, days on market, and then a description about the property. So you can easily compare your subject property to that property by saying, oh, it's got a new roof, oh, it's got a new furnace, oh, it's got this, that, and the other. So it breaks down every single one of the properties. And this is helpful for your sellers to be able to kind of look into that house without physically being able to get inside the house.
Let's see square footage, and I just missed it.
So this one has just the bedrooms, the bathrooms. And then we start breaking down the data. So this page is the brief summary. And so it tells just some of the basic components of the home. Reiterating price, days on market.
There's a button for this. I've been making spreadsheets for my clients.
Oh my
And
God.
there's a button for this.
There is a
There's a
button.
button.
It does all this for you. And then I like that you can show them cumulative days on market. And so although our days on market are 4 here, when you look at that peak, it's like, ooh, that one stayed on the market a really long time. But you know, in a market where it's 30 to 60 days, it kind of helps you see the flow. And then you can determine, you know, why did a listing stay on the market more than another? And then it also shows your list versus sold price. So you can see, oh, we're in a pretty tight market right now. And that helps people when you have the conversation of, well, we'd really like to get 330 for our house. Do we list it 335 so we have room for negotiating, or do we list it at 330 and we stay firm? And granted, this conversation isn't happening a lot in our market, but when we normalize, you're going to see under asking price offers, and sellers want to pad the price so they have room to come down, so they feel like the buyer won. And this helps show, you know, where things are listing, where they're selling, and you can pretty much say, let's list at the price that you want to sell at. You're going to get more exposure, you're going to get hit, you're going to hit more people, you're going to get more excitement, and we're probably going to sell the home a lot faster, meaning we're going to get you that list price.
Yeah.
Question? Yeah.
Yeah, so when you do the comps, is there any like the minimum and the maximum? What's the average? The data, so when you comparing the homes. I mean, the more you have is better, but is there any?
Oh,
minimum
okay.
or
So yeah,
maximum?
there's not really a minimum number of comps you should have in a report. You're gonna need at least, you'd prefer to have 3 solds, because that really gives you credible data. But if you can't find 3 solds, you're gonna have to go off the data that you do have. So maybe you only have 1, maybe you only have 2. I'd say don't go with 15, because now that's gonna be too much information to decipher. So choose the ones that are most closely matched, and maybe you only take 6 and no more than that.
And how far back time-wise do you recommend now?
Time-wise, I would say, you know, and it depends on time of year, really, but you can utilize up to 6 months worth of data. If you're comparing sales prices from last summer, trying to anticipate what to list a home for in March or April of this year, you're going to have a little bit of false data, because summer prices actually started to dip a little bit. Spring selling season, prices tend to go up. So when you look at those sold comparables, you may have to change those values a little bit in your own mind and communicate to your seller that this home sold for $400,000 back in August. And I can show you statistically using the SMEDRA charts or the DMAR charts that this was when prices flattened or even went down a touch. And now we're coming into the upslope where the demand is high and the buyers are low, and we can capitalize on that. So we're going to add an extra 5 or 10 grand, but it's finesse. It's knowing your market, because nobody's going to teach you how to do that. You have to go out and learn the market. So then you can tell your sellers, this is why I think your home is worth substantially more than this one. Good
Okay.
question. Anything you want to piggyback
I was
on
just
that?
gonna say, yeah, knowing the market is key. An appraiser is behind the market. We're with the market, if not ahead of the market. We're seeing, we're hearing, we're feeling. In August, prices were much different in August than they were in May. We're only talking a few months, but our sellers wanted to sell for the same prices that was happening in May. In August and September, it wasn't happening.
And that's why we saw price reductions for the first time in 4 years.
And the last thing you want to do is be above the market and have to chase it down at the wrong direction. So that's where you being out there, even again, I keep saying it, even if you don't have a client right now, every single day go out there. Then you can see when a house sells, you're like, I just went in that the other day and that sold in a day. I get it. Or you're like, that's still on the market? Well, yeah, because I remember it was really nice, but it felt a little high. And look, it did. It sold for less. I mean, then you're in the market. You can use your knowledge for what's happening. So it's just.
And it helps you anticipate the market too. When someone approaches you and says, when should we list our house? Should we do it in January? Should we do it in March? Should we do it in August? We have the flexibility. You tell us what to do, you guide us. And so you can anticipate that market. And, a home that sold for $350 in December, you know that prices are going to tick up 3%. Hey, let's list it, X instead, because by the time we get to March, that's what the value of your home is going to be. So.
Back to this price graph, and Stacey had said, the seller that wants to list for a little bit over so that they have negotiating room. Part of being a good agent is being able to articulate why that's not a good thing to do. We've got some charts in the listing presentation, I believe, online on Elevate that show a little wave that shows the peak.
I might actually
Do you have that?
I might have it in here because it's always such a good one. Let's look. Yeah. Very next slide.
Oh, awesome. So yeah, that's even in RA Colorado. The peak time is right in those first few weeks. And so for you to be able to articulate why that's important, to get the right price, why if I sell sooner than later, I will get more money. And the main reason is you've got a pool of buyers out there right now running around looking for a house. And what do? Every day we look at the new homes on the market. Does this fit? Does this fit? And new homes come on the market, and all of us out there, all 20,000 of us, or the new house comes on the market, we call our client, tell them about it, and we all go and look at it. Well, that happens within the first few weeks. Maybe someone's on vacation, after that's happened, and we've all jumped on it, and if none of us said that's the right one, because it was either overpriced, or the condition wasn't right, something was wrong with it, then we all go back to our office, and we're all waiting for what now?
Another new listing.
A new buyer to come into the market. All the buyers in the market currently jumped, looked, didn't want it. Now we got to wait for a new buyer to enter the market who's not already been in the market. So that's why it's like a feeding frenzy. We're all jumping on it, and none of us want it. Now we got to wait for the new fish that's just been wandering out there and hasn't been a realtor, hasn't got qualified to come into the market. And those are just a couple at a time, and now we're going to start dropping. So you need to articulate this to your seller. Let's not price a little high so that you can come down to make them feel good. Let's just get as many people looking at your house as possible and hope for. Maybe they won't feel good that they won, but we want as many people right now to be interested in it. And even though it's easy for us to all type in, I'm looking for a house from 250 to 310, what do? 250 to 300. 300 to 350, we kind of go on these. So by $5,000, let's ask 355,000. Let's go 350. I mean, I do it. I search. We search in 10s or 20s or 50s. So by trying to get a couple grand, you might be missing an entire market. So these are just good conversations to have with your client.
I think that too, when we want the buyer to win, when you're talking with your sellers and you're using that philosophy that the buyers who are coming to your house when you first go on the market are already educated, and if you have it priced, they already know that they're winning with that price.
So true.
So because they're already educated, they know what the market price for the homes are. So they already know that they're winning,
Exactly.
except for the crazy ones who
Well, and
insist
you
on
avoid the
lower.
crazy ones.
Yeah.
So yeah, all of this can work in a market like we're in, where days on market are still at a few weeks, or in a market where average days are 90 days, 120 days. The same philosophy works, because I will get calls all day long saying, my home has been listed for 14 days now. What do we do? We're freaking out. The showings were great in the beginning, and now it's just barely trickling in. So same philosophy, you probably started just a little bit ambitious. So make the auto correction now, don't wait. So a lot of different charts are available in Matrix, and a lot of them share the exact same information, just in a different format. So we had the wave that shows, the most desirable time to sell, highest price, lowest amount of time, first 1 to 2 weeks. And then you've got the next chart, which talks about for the seller to reach the optimal price or their desired price, they really have to be cautious not to list too high. Because if you list too high, you're outside of the buyer's desired price, and then you're gonna have to slowly work your way back down to market value.
And again, we're not handing this to people. Okay, these are talking points, but you're having a conversation. When you do a market analysis, you're putting this stuff together and you're sitting down with people. You're talking to them and having a conversation and showing these as, to remind you of your conversation, really. So don't just give it to people.
They won't read it if
They
you
won't.
just.
And they won't get it. Yeah, and so it's your job to explain all this to them. And I know that a listing presentation is one of the hardest things for most agents to do. It's just so many things are coming together. Your knowledge of the market and your knowledge of overcoming objections, because they want to do this, but you need to tell them not to do that. And you need to tell them why not to do that. I mean, you've got to show your expertise in a big way.
So again, just another way of showing price at market value. Otherwise, you end up selling for less than market because you started out too high, shop worn. And then there's a couple pages on just first impressions, steps to having a positive showing, things to do for home enhancement, what to expect. I always include those, even though I do a really lengthy consultation and go room by room, telling people what they need to do to prep. How you live in a home is different than how you sell a home. And then setting the expectations of, this is, how many people you might expect to have coming in the home. These are the hours that you might expect showings to occur, just really setting the stage. But there's a few good talking points in these slides as well.
And you should have written down that phrase. We have been saying this phrase for 30 years.
How you live in a home and how you sell a home are two different things.
That's from Barb Schwartz, 1989 class I took.
Somehow it made its way into my brain.
It still works, but it's so true. I mean, people can't see past your stuff. So it's very important to articulate that to them that, yeah, this is going to be a little uncomfortable. You're not going to be living in your home right now the way that you're used to.
No, yeah, it's no longer their home.
No,
they
We
go on
want
market.
this to not be
And
your
you
home
can make
anymore.
it fun. It
Yes.
doesn't have to be heavy and really serious. It's, have you ever watched HGTV? Yes, I have. I love that show. Most women will say, I love HGTV. We are going to HGTV your home today. And we're going to go through and we're going to take down all the personal photos and we're going to do this and we're going to do this and we're going to do this. And don't the homes always come out looking awesome? That's what we're going to transform your home into and make it fun.
But don't assume that they watch HGTV.
They might
Not
not.
everybody watches that. And a lot of people think that their house is HGTV ready. Again, this is back to our
That's so
But
true.
they're not all
That's a
up
good
to date of what's going on. I was watching 9 News this morning. I don't know who it was. It's an old reporter talking about, that had nothing to do with real estate. Just to let you know, it has nothing to do with real estate. But he's talking about the Ted Bundy case. And he was one of the reporters back then. And he had Netflix call him up and wanted to interview him because he was very into this thing. He didn't know who they were.
Who Netflix was? Well, it's a possibility.
He showed up and there's limos and this big thing. He's like, I had no idea they were a big deal. Not everybody is up to speed with what's going on in the world, so don't assume that they watch HGTV or flip this house or, yeah, it's our job to be the expert and don't let them think that they might know more than we do. We do know what we're doing here.
The hardest one is your 92-year-old grandma telling her, we got to put away this.
Your
and we got to
doilies.
take down your
Yeah.
yes, and your hallway wall.
And the
all
grandkids and the great grandkids and,
Oh,
yeah.
Play collection.
Play
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 collection,
collection.
big cat collection, and the little figurines.
Oh, so hard. It's like, can we buy you a house? You can move into that and then we'll stage yours.
Much easier.
Much easier.
And my stager always appeals to their emotions, saying,
Yeah.
you wouldn't want a small kid coming along and loving it and
Oh,
I
either
do that.
kicking it or
Yeah.
dropping it. And you're gonna pack it anyway, let's get.
Let's
head
start
start.
packing.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
usually say you're taking your memories with you, and then the house is gonna be for the new person to make their memories, so let's just put your memories here, and you're
Perfect.
not gonna lose them.
Yeah.
And most of them are, I've had people come down and say later, they felt like they were on Property Brothers, because they got up the next morning and they came down and went, wow. And now that they moved and we found a new house, they say, well, this is wonderful, I'm gonna do this in my new place, why didn't I do it sooner?
You do hear that.
How many times have you had clients, once you've helped them get their home show ready, the very first day they turn all the lights on, they're getting ready to walk out that door for the first showing, they say, you know, we might want to stay. The house looks great. And I always say, write a full price offer and you can keep it. Yeah. I think that was it for that slide, yeah. And then there's just a little guarantee in the back that just says, hey, if you're not satisfied and I'm not doing what I say I'm gonna do, I put in there that, you know, I'll cancel the listing agreement because I am that confident that they are going to be thrilled with my services. I also include, this is from SMEDRA, actually Colorado Associations of Realtors puts out this report, so you can find it on DMAR's website or SMEDRA's website, Board of Realtors, and it breaks down the statistics per county and also per city. So although I'm giving them a nice overview of what's going on in their neighborhood, it's also important to see what the market in general is doing in their county and their city. So I always include those statistics. It talks about active listings, talks about under contracts, sold. It breaks down single family and condo because those are two different demographics. So you want to know that information individually, and just some good, you know, other good information for them to have. And then I always include the photos, the interior photos for the properties that I used as comparables. And this is why I said you don't want to include 12 listings, 17 listings, 20 listings, because it's going to be so much information to go through. And when I sit down, I rank the properties on my CMA as to where their home fits. So if a buyer was going to go out and spend, in this case, this one's listed at $340,000, and they have these 5 properties to choose from, your home and these other 4 comparables, which one would they pick first and why? And I have to be able to articulate why they would pick that first. And I rank all these comparables, number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and then I slide their home in there so they know where they fit. And that helps me with the pricing. So I can say, this home has granite countertops, it has stainless steel appliances, it has beautiful hardwood floors, maybe it backs to a green belt, I don't remember on this particular home, but say they have the original oak cabinets, and say they have black appliances, and say they have old carpet and they haven't remodeled the bathrooms. Their home ranks below this one, meaning this one's at 330, so your home is somewhere under 330. We're gonna figure out where that fits. So this property It has the white appliances. I can't tell if those look like the oak cabinets and the hardwood floors. And maybe I say, this home, interior condition and amenities are very similar to your property. However, your home has a bigger lot or a wider garage. I'm going to rank your home slightly higher than this one. This one's at 310. Now you're between 310 and 330. And you slowly start closing that gap down until you figure out your home is worth between, say, 320 and 325 is how I do it. This particular property, I actually wrote all of that out, and we'll read to you what I wrote just so you can see how I helped them achieve or get to the list price that we ultimately chose. These were really good friends of mine. He was out of town. She was working like crazy. We didn't have an opportunity to get together, the three of us. So instead I put together a really detailed email to them outlining the market evaluation, presenting the information. So they had an opportunity to review it. And then once he got back into town, her job slowed down. We were able to sit down and strategize a little bit further. So I always recommend you try and do this in person when you can. But if you don't have an opportunity, this is the expectation of how you should deliver the information.
I'm impressed that you saved this 4 years ago.
I saved this, and some of this is actually put into Elevate under our communication file so that you guys can access these templates and see how you can customize your business practices by not reinventing the wheel. And so I've taken almost all of my client interaction emails, from home inspections to appraisals to home enhancement to photography to your very first showing to copies of the MLS, and really, I mean, taken every single piece of that and I've given it and posted it on Elevate so you can look through it. Yeah, I like to share, so.
Stacey, can you talk about your timing? So obviously you don't put your CMA together until after you viewed the home.
Yes, and in this particular situation, I sold this home to them, so I knew what it looked like, but I needed to come back because they had made some improvements. So, and yes, you don't know condition, you don't know anything like that, but I will typically do a generic CMA, so I'm knowledgeable on the market before I ever meet with someone. So whether it's an existing client, a past client, a new client, I will know what homes of their square footage in their neighborhood sell for, so that I can walk in thinking their home's going to be listed somewhere between 325 and 350. And maybe that range is bigger. Maybe it's 350 and 400. That way, when I get there and we start really dialing into condition and upgrades, I can start to hone in on, okay, the one in the CMA that was listed at this price and sold for this price, it's really comparable to their home. And I can really narrow that when I'm actually sitting there talking to them. But most of the time I say, this is a preliminary market analysis. Now that I've seen your home, I'm going to go back and I'm really going to dial in the numbers. It's going to take me a couple days to do it, or a couple hours, or whatever your time frame looks like. If you're juggling multiple clients, make sure you have plenty of time. And I say, is it okay if I get back to you in 24 or 48 hours, and I will really fine tune what I think your home should be listed for. But I like to go in with a general knowledge, because they're going to ask you, what do you think this is worth? And I don't want to say, I don't know.
That's what they want to know.
Right.
They want to know.
Yeah.
But I don't come in firm with a price, because there are too many things to factor in. Does it smell? Is it in good condition? You can't factor those things in. And you need to know how open-minded they are to accepting advice. If it's 90-year-old grandma that says, I ain't doing anything, you need to know to price it appropriately. So.
Do you ultimately leave it up to them to make a final decision, at least give them that feeling on pricing?
Yeah, I do. And that's why I typically like to give a range. And I'll read this to you guys here in a second, but my recommendation for these clients was to list between 310 and 312.5. And so then they have the power to say, okay, let's go ahead and try 312.5. I mean, most people will say that higher number. Some people will say, I want to list at 320, but hopefully if you've educated them well enough, they will never second guess your recommendation. They will see how their home ranks, how it stacks up, why they may not be able to achieve 330 when the neighbor down the street sold for 330. Because oftentimes people say, hey, my neighbor sold for X amount. And you go, yeah, but they had a finished basement and they had, stainless and they had granite and they backed open space. none of which you have, but you can articulate that in a very nice manner.
And taking an overpriced listing is very, you need to know what their motivation is. If you take an overpriced listing and they don't have to sell, you probably don't want to take it. If we could sell this for 400,000, then we could go get, if it's based upon, it'd be nice so that we can go do something. I want to take it because most likely it's not going to sell. You're going to put a lot of time and energy into it. They're not going to respect you. And if they do decide to put it back on the market again, they're going to end up listening to the next guy and reducing it and selling.
And you say, that's the price I recommended
That's what
to
I
begin with.
said, do that. But if they say, I want to try, but they're being transferred, they have to move to Atlanta in 60 days.
Right.
They're going, no matter what, this is going to sell someday with you because they have to. I put in an email. This is what I recommended. This is what's going to happen. Here's my foreshadowing. We're going to sell less than the market. If they end up selling for 340 and they were right, you're wrong, well, great, you get paid and they get to move on.
Not yet.
We end up selling it for less than market value, less than what you said, and they're upset. I told you that. This is what we said. You still get paid. You still move on.
So I took Ninja last year and they have a great realistic interview when you talk to your sellers on the phone. And one of it is, asking them what you've done to the property. Since if you were to stay another 5 years, what would you do? And then put yourself in a buyer's shoes on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate your home? And what would it take to get it to the 10? So then you're kind of already putting in their minds, oh yeah, I need to do this, I need to do that. Plus you kind of, you're understanding how they feel about their home.
Right.
You're kind of prepared for that.
Well, scale of 1 to 10 is awesome. Like if you say, on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate your house? And they say an 8. Okay, then we're going to market about 80% of the value or the prices of everything else. Well, no, I don't want to do that. And I said, well, then we need to get it to a 10 or adjust the pricing. So I think scales are awesome.
That's really helpful. I like that.
Getting them to really think about it.
Yeah.
And doing that job for you instead of you coming in and being a bad guy.
We would do that on trade-ins. I've been in the car business for a long time. And we would do that on trade-ins before we gave the value of their trade. Scale of 1 to 10 and it's a 6 or a 7. Say, okay, great. And when you come back with a number and they like, wait a minute, like, well, that's about 70%. That's what you said. Well, I don't want that. Okay, well, let's now that we all understand what the numbers are, let's talk. But that's always good. I like that.
Helps get people realistic. Yeah. So do you want to kind of read this a little bit?
I was hoping you would read it. I hate reading my own writing.
I like hearing your own voice.
Yeah, kind of. Same kind of thing.
I'll read to you all, put you all to sleep. No. What I like about this, and even when we do meet with our clients in person, like this one we didn't get to, but I mean, we're so close that they already have the trust and everything. We still do this. They still get this email after we've sat down and it's a recap. And if you ever call Stacey and I and say, hey, what do you guys think about this is what we want from you. We need you to be able to say, take a look at my CMA. I sent it over to you and let me explain to you what I'm thinking. Then we can help you. But if you just send us numbers, that first chart without any explanation, without any follow through, I don't know. I'm just looking at numbers. You put something like this together and go, oh, okay, we're leading somebody down the path to why. When you said, do we let them choose their own number? You bet 310 or 312. I mean, we're not giving them a big range.
And to answer Angie's question even more thoroughly, that's why I want to go in knowing a range, so that when they say, I want to list my house at X, you, one, have an idea of what their motivation and intentions are, but two, you know whether that's realistic or not, and whether you need to start talking them into reality. So
That's $100,000 over the most recent sale.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen.
Are you crazy?
That's when you go to this first line. Based upon the recent sales data, there is no data that supports what you're saying. Yeah. But this, I mean, my expertise, I mean, what a great, my expertise. We're already saying, not that they didn't already know, but we're already saying we're experts. Based upon recent sales data, my expertise with the Highlands Ranch and Littleton markets, and the market prediction for the spring-summer selling season, I have placed a current value on a home 310 to 312.5. Don't say 310 to 335.
Right.
That's not showing any expertise. That's giving them, we're pinning this down. It looks like the value of our home has gone up about 12% in the last 12 months. Great news.
And that's from that RPR report. I just took that number straight off that cover sheet in RPR.
I'm finding that prices of homes in your neighborhood with 3 to 4 bedrooms, similar square footage, and a 2-car garage are ranging anywhere from 305 to 330. Properties are selling about 100.91% of listing price, and average days of market of 3. You know, some sold for 1, some sold for 5. I've included, the full property report with charts, graphs, general market projections, and market analysis for your review. Evaluation includes 3 sold properties. And this is where we really want to talk about the 3 properties. There actually aren't any current active listings available at the moment, which is great news. Low inventory levels right now would allow us to set an initial price that accurately represents the top market value without pricing your home so high that it won't sell. Because the competition is extremely low, meaning there are no listings, we are able to push the envelope a little bit more in efforts to bring you the highest returns. In my opinion, the best 2 sold comparables in Providence Center are 885 Jackdaw Street and 8971 Sanderling Way. Jackdaw received an offer within 2 days on the market, listed at 305, sold for 310. Tri-level floor plan offering 4-bedroom, 3-bath, 1387 square feet. On the main floors, 400 square feet finished in the basement, bringing the total to 1790. It is located on an oversized cul-de-sac lot, which is a nice perk. Interior upgrades are very similar to yours. Sanderling received an offer within 4 days, listed for 305, sold for 305. It also was a tri-level, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1366 on the main floors and 306 in the basement finished, bringing the total to 1672. This had a really nice flat backyard. Your master bathroom, however, is much nicer. 3 homes featured in the report are selling 320, 330s, tend to be larger size, so this is why we're not at that 320, 330. The homes that are 320 to 330 tend to be larger, 2,000 square feet. Theirs was only 13 to 17 with the finished. Offer walkout basements, have upgraded kitchens, granite countertops, stainless steel appliances. Because of these additional amenities, these homes are valued slightly higher than yours. I've included interior photos for properties included in valuation. Also attached market report, Douglas County. After you've had an opportunity to review and attach documents, blah, 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 blah. You'll see that I reduced the commission charge from 6 to 5.5 since you are a repeat client. As I mentioned last week, you can modify the 2.8 standard buyers, blah, 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 blah. Our next step is to get you pre-approved, AJ. So the whole thing was we showed the 310, the 312. We showed that we knew those properties. We knew it had a flat backyard. We knew that your bathroom was nicer than this one. We knew that the basements were finished. And then we knew that those 320s to 330s, those are 2,000 square feet. Stainless, I mean, you can show that and so they can go, yeah, that's not me. I'm this, that's not me. Articulated, I mean, if you guys said that to us too, we'd go, oh, yeah, this is where you should be. So knowing the market that well by going in properties, seeing, driving by past sold ones that you haven't been in, at least like Stacey said, does it back up to a road? I mean, Zillow doesn't tell you that. At least go online now. I mean, at least you can go on Google and go, oh, it backs up to a road. You know, if you don't have time, at least you can do that.
Yeah, and then you get a lot less objections when it comes to price. If maybe they were thinking their home was valued at $319, they will now be able to see, oh, yeah, we were a little bit off. And you get a lot less objections of, hey, can we try $319? They understand the numbers. They see that this is not your opinion. This is the market data. You don't set the prices, buyers set the prices.
So when you go in with your listing presentation, do you leave a paper copy with them? Or do you present on your laptop or your iPad, or
So
does
when
it depend on the client?
Yeah, when I go into a listing presentation, I just have my general neighborhood statistics. And so I will pretty much show what's going on in their city, in their subdivision, and I'll pull up all the active listings and sold listings and under contract listings within the square footage, bedroom, bathroom parameters, regardless of whether they're $100,000 disparity or not. And it's just, this is just a glance of what's going on. And I leave that with them. And then I go back to the drawing board and I take out this comparable and this comparable and this comparable because it isn't closely enough related now that I've been in the home, and I drill those numbers down. And depending on price range, you know, the $300,000, $400,000 price range, you can get within $2,500, $2,000, you know, $5,000. In an $800, $900 million property, that range might be a little bit bigger. It could be $25,000 range. But yeah, so I leave general market information with them, and then I produce that comprehensive CMA.
How do you handle the appraisal when they come in to do the appraisal?
What do you
The
mean? How do I handle it?
appraiser, do you attend?
I do attend.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then do you bring comps?
I do. Even though they have access to that comparable data themselves, I will bring the CMA, and I will also bring the appraiser reports from Matrix. You can go in, and when you go to print preview, there's appraiser, and I can show you guys if we want to log online and look at that, but there's actually appraiser reports. Is it 1040C? Oh, who are you calling? Yeah, we can throw this back on screen share, and I can show you guys how I grab those reports. And then I also typically, when property, I have the seller email me over a list of all the improvements that they've made. And depending on how emotionally attached to the home, I ask them what 3 qualities they like the best about their home. Because I haven't lived in the property, so if there's something that I can't physically see, I want to know so I can market it appropriately. And then I take the appraiser, the list of improvements that the seller gave me. And then if I've had multiple offers on the property, I actually include those as well.
Do you bring the,
I do bring the contract. Mhm.
they're all things that I was recommended to do as well. And one thing I've noticed, I mean, not that I've done it super long, but in everyone that I've been in, is it is almost a relationship. It is a separate negotiation. I mean, you want to be as accommodating to that person as possible. You know, the appraiser.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I mean, they're still human, so you have that human element that still comes into play, and that's helped me out tremendously on a couple homes, especially the higher priced homes where they're having a hard time. You know, one was over $1 million, and it was kind of a pocket, little unique one.
Sure.
And we have 4 appraisers. It was unique.
I caught that.
Yeah, it was unique in a good way, actually.
Yeah.
And he went, and we had 4, it was a jumbo loan, and they required a 5th appraisal at the last second.
Oh, wow.
And so he figured it out. He went to bat, you know, and there was a few reasons that went into that. He let the dog out while I was there, and we had to go search the neighborhood.
Oh,
Like he was and he had to go back and take more pictures another day because the camera wasn't working. So those types of things kind of, I think, helped our cause, you know, but I think it makes a big difference to get involved, you know, and be
And definitely
accommodating.
the way my appraisal meeting looks is I show up, I open the door, I'm there before the appraiser even gets there. So they walk up, the lights are all turned on, I greet them, shake their hand, I let them in. Sitting out on the dining room table or the kitchen eating space, I have the multiple offers if there were any, my comps, my CMA appraiser analysis that they like, and then the list of all of the improvements made to the property. And I just say, yeah, we had multiple offers, here we have this, we have this, we have this. Is there anything else you need from me? Any questions I can answer? Nope, we're all good. Okay, awesome. I'm just gonna go hang out outside, return a few phone calls, and then I let them do their thing. They don't want me in their way. They don't want me pointing out the things that they can see, and they've got 5 other appointments right after mine. So I don't want to slow them down because I don't want that to negatively impact my appraisal. Not that it should, but
That human element.
yeah. And then when they come out, I shake their hand again and I say, if you have any questions or any problem finding value, let me know. And that's it. And I have had appraisers reach out to me and say, I'm within $2,000. I'm having a hard time getting this one to appraise. Do you have any other comps? And that's when I go into public records and I see, was there a for sale by owner that sold that wasn't in the MLS? And I'll dig deeper. But I always leave that door open that if you are having any trouble getting this to covenant value, let me know if there's anything I can do to help. And then they're out.
Yeah, the phrase that he would recommend, the guy I worked with before, was, we're not gonna have any trouble getting to the selling price, are we?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, just gotta pull that out.
Yeah.
And none of them will ever say it to your face that they will, because he had one guy say, yeah, no, we're good. It was a big house in Castle Rock, it was 4,000 square feet. He did the whole thing in 30 minutes and left, and are you sure we're okay? And he goes, oh yeah, we're fine. And he came in 70 grand light. So they had to get a second one. So it's just, you don't know what you got till you got it, but I think it's important to be there.
Yeah, I do too.
I think most of them want to talk anyway.
Yeah, they do. I mean, I just always had this like fear of appraisers. They're mean.
Right.
They don't want to deal with realtors. They're always so nice.
Yeah.
Always so nice. So, and I think there's a large population of real estate agents that just give them the lockbox code and say, go do your thing. So I do think that they respect the higher level of professionalism when you're actually there.
I always think it's a good opportunity as well, because if they are open, you can tell the ones who don't want to talk to you. 'Cause
Yeah.
Yeah.
They don't make eye contact. Rushing past you, you're throwing things.
Yeah.
But if they are chatty, I always ask them, hey, is there anything new that you're seeing, that would help me as an agent price my properties better, or anything that you see going on? They are more than happy to share.
Yeah, they are.
And then you learn a lot about what they go through. I feel sorry for those people. I wouldn't want that job for them.
Okay.
Well, it was funny because when we sold our brownstone in Highlands Ranch before we moved up into the foothills 2 years ago, we had the appraiser come through and I put all this stuff out for him and I said, do you even want this stuff? Does this even help you? And he's like, yes, it helps me tremendously. I was like, oh, cool. Because, they have MLS access. Most of what I'm providing them, they have access to, other than my list of improvements.
But that's just less time they have to spend doing it.
Less time they have to spend doing it. So yeah, he was very appreciative. I was like, oh, phew, I'm not wasting my time.
Well, I think sometimes too, like I had a deal where it was, I think what we talked about, it was a $615,000 fixer-upper.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of my comps were what the property could be if it was in its prime, because you don't have other $615,000 fixer-uppers. And so the appraiser said, I really appreciate providing this so I know how you got from there to here. And so I think it was helpful, but not only I met him, but I kind of discussed, this is where we at, and this is where we took off, because this is where we think the potential could be.
Mm-hmm.
And that was helpful.
Exactly. Do you guys want me to hop online and show you some of these reports and show you guys how to do the CMA and matrix? Would that be helpful? I know we've got a lot of experience levels and a lot of you have already done CMA. You need to see that CMA button? Okay. So yeah, I'll just take over the computer and we'll do screen share and we'll just run through a quick CMA, build something out for you guys to see. Anybody online have any questions before we move on?
And you guys can talk.
Yeah, you can talk. Jump in.
I think. I don't think I have you. Yeah, unmute yourself. You have the power to do that.
Yeah, interact.
It's great info. Thank you. I sometimes get set in my ways. That's why I like to come back and do these classes, and gives me a kick in the pants.
Okay, I'm going to ask you and Angie and Vicky. I'm like, you guys are good. You guys know what you're doing. Is this helpful? And you're picking up anything? Oh, good. It's really okay. Cool.
Yeah. Well, I learned it all from this guy, so yeah. And we want to try and hit all different levels. It's all right. So I've got things.
And to be honest, a lot of times when you work by referral, you don't really have to do a lot of this.
No, you don't.
And
But you should.
But sometimes you don't.
This
If they're
way.
like, I want to list my house tomorrow, and you go and you do listing paperwork and you go through the pricing point, but you probably skip some steps. And so it is really a good reminder that yes, you are a professional, even if it's locked up. you know, and what a better time to shine as a professional by doing the whole thing, even though you know it's locked up.
Exactly. And then you just cultivate that many more referrals because of the way you treated them.
It's a very good.
It totally reinforces their decision in trusting you. They trust us, but then it's nice to show them why you're trusting.
Tell them they made a good decision.
Yeah. And they do go at home thinking, should I have asked anything? Nah, I guess. So you do this, and like, oh, wow, I wasn't expecting that. I'm good. Yeah, you don't know what they're thinking after they've just, oh yeah, we trust you, do your thing.
Well, and it helps you retain higher commissions too, when you're showing and demonstrating your value and your knowledge. And I mean, we're huge at wanting you guys to develop those skills that you can easily obtain those 6% commissions. I don't care if you're working for your parents or your sister or your friend.
I see way too many commissions
Don't
being cut.
reduce your commission.
Buyers being rebated, listings being cut all the time. And for too many reasons. Their friends, their family. It's my first deal, it's my third deal. It's slow. Stick to what you're charging, show your value, and just stay with it. Because someday you're gonna have a party or a get together and we all show up, and the last thing you wanna do is have this guy over here, you know that you gave him a sweet deal, and over here you charged him 7%, and please don't get together, and talk. This is what, everybody get it, I don't care, this is what we charge. There
Or
are
you
no
get a referral and
deals.
they
Yeah,
tell the person they're referring you, oh, they only charged me 4%. And maybe that's not your rate anymore. And so when you sit down and do the consultation and you say 6% is my rate, well, how come you charge John and Susan 4%? They told me that. Now you're going,
Yeah.
you feel
it's
icky.
just,
Unless you have a reason.
Unless you have a
unless
reason.
you have a reason.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, I mean, we, piggybacking on don't reduce your commission, we do have a couple instances that we will charge slightly less. And it's if you're a repeat customer, because we value the relationship of having you come back to us a second time. And if you are selling and then buying with us. So we'll do.
But you see, it was from 6 to 5.8 or something like that. I mean,
5.5, there was nothing.
Yeah.
We're not giving away the farm.
Yeah, and then he didn't read it, but I put it into dollar terms because when they
We
hear
always do
a 0.5%, I mean, if you went to Nordstrom's and the shirt was 0.5% off, you'd be like, what a waste, this is not a big deal. But when you translate it to a dollar amount, and in that example, it was a $1,500 savings, that's tangible, that they get. So I said, hey, I'm doing it for a 0.5% less, which equates to a $1,500 savings.
Yeah, we started that about
A little bit late.
Yeah.
Later than we should have.
probably
but-
6, 7, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
It's like, people need to know how much money they're saving, not percent.
Because typically, if you offer someone a $500 savings, they're thrilled, let alone a $1,500 savings. And when they say, will you charge 6, will you do it for 4? That's 2% off of your side, not the buyer's side. And when you equate that
You just gave
out,
away 70%.
you just gave out 70% of your commission. So,
I have a listing that we tried to get and we didn't get it because we told them that they should price it at $850 or $875, and they had another customer or another agent tell them they could get close to $1 million for it, and they didn't even get any
That happened.
offers. And so I circled back to them, and it's withdrawn and getting ready to expire, and they're telling me that the other agents that have been reaching out to them as well are offering to stage their house for free and do a whole bunch of stuff that's, of $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 worth of value. Do you see a lot of that? With competing
We see
agents,
everything.
right?
We see everything.
there isn't anything.
Throwing
we
in a
don't see.
home warranty, throwing in, staging services. It works if you can pencil stuff out. I mean,
Right.
we've had high-end listings that we'll pay for the initial staging. I'm not gonna pay for your 3 months of staging, but but know what the dollars are.
Right.
And make sure that they know what the dollars are.
Yeah, it's just quite a few different dollar amounts thrown out. It's
Yes.
considerable, but it's a big commission, so obviously I get it, but that's a fair amount of money.
All right, so when you log into your RE Colorado account, this is the main page that you will see. And when you're gonna go do a typical residential search is how we're gonna start the CMA. And so I'm gonna select the actives, the under contracts and solds on the left-hand side, and it auto-populates with 180 days, which is 6 months. So I'm gonna go back 6 months on this one. I'm actually going to do a CMA for a property that I'm going to do a map search for this particular property because, or for this particular CMA, because in the Highlands Ranch Town Center, I know that people identify the location as Town Center, brownstones at Highlands Ranch. They reference it in many different ways. And oftentimes, if I'm not searching correctly, I'm not going to get everything to pull up. So I'm going to go in and do, by clicking on the mapping tab up in the right-hand corner, I can see where the Highlands Ranch Town Center is, and it's in between Highlands Ranch Parkway, Broadway, and Lucent. So I'm actually going to draw my map so that I get all of the listings. Because sometimes people call subdivisions different things, and if you're not specific in the MLS, you'll exclude some very
typos.
Or typos. Yeah, they mistype. So I'm going to save myself any error. The property that I am going to comp, I'm going to pretend that someone just called me. They've got a unit in there. It's one of the floor plans. It's 1,300 square feet. It's 2 bedrooms. And we're going to look those sales comps up. I know the prices in the Highlands Ranch Town Center typically range from 300 to 500. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that in, and I'm going to look for my results. So we get a lot of stuff. We've got 27 different properties. The things I know about the Highlands Ranch Town Center, because I specialize in that area, is that there are 2 different builders in there. There's Shea Homes and there's Cardell Homes. And Shea Homes built the initial phases of the property, and then when they were done, Cardell came in and bought some land behind them, and they built other homes. So Cardell Homes are slightly newer in construction, but what was unique about those floor plans is they have lots of stairs in them. And Highlands Ranch Town Center in general, it's a townhome community, so it is main floor, basement or garage down below, and then an upstairs. So there are typically 3 levels in some of the properties. Some of them have detached garages that walk into the main level, but the Cardell homes, for whatever reasons, they have 4 and 5 different levels. So oftentimes the feedback from buyers is there's too many stairs, or those aren't as comparable to some of the listings that the Shea Homes built. There's also a condo complex, a high-rise condo complex. And those properties typically pull in the low 3s to the mid 3s. And I know that because they feel more apartment style, because they're all single level. You have to take an elevator up. They have a deeded parking space, but no garage. All of the Highlands Ranch Town Center townhomes built by Shea Homes have an attached 2-car garage. So I'm going to factor all of this information that I know from previewing, from being a local market expert, from living in that neighborhood. So first thing I'm going to do is the property that I'm comping, I already went on Realist, and I've already pulled up the county records, and I know what the square footage is, and I know what they last paid for it, and I know the property address. So I know that the above grade square footage falls somewhere between 1,200 and 1,400 square feet for this particular unit. And in Highlands Ranch Town Center, it's different than a typical subdivision where you can pull a lot of different properties. These units, and specifically this one I'm going to comp, is unlike any other unit in the building or in the complex. So you're only going to comp the model per model. And I know that just from experience. This particular model has stairs that go up from the garage, and then it's all on one level. So I can't compare it with a 1,600 or 1,700 square foot 2-story because it's more single level living. So I'm going to go back into my criteria, and because I know these units are typically around 1,100 to 14, we'll say 1,500 square feet, depending on whether they're using county records or appraisal measurements. And I'm going to narrow down my search results dramatically. Boom. So let's go in here and take a look. So this is Clock Tower. This is the high-rise condo complex, not comparable to this particular unit that I'm doing. This one is the exact same floor plan as the unit I'm gonna comp. So this is a great comparable. So we're gonna throw this one in. Next, this one is, although it's within our 200 square foot range, this unit is side by side and it's a 2-story. And I know this particular unit has less stairs, a little more desirable in the community, and the demographics that cater to this particular property are much different than the demographics of the unit I'm comping. So this one I'm actually gonna leave out. This is the exact same model of the subject property, so I'll take that. And this is one of the Cardell homes, tons of stairs going up to the entrance, different year of construction. Not a good comp for this particular property either. So when I go down to the bottom and I click the refine button, I can narrow my search results with the ones I just tagged. And I can see I only have 2 properties. One's an under contract, which in theory is not a comparable, but we're going to use it to show how the market's moving or transitioning. And then the sold is our true comp. So what we're going to do is we are going to go into actions and we're going to go to CMA. And then we can add a new contact. And I literally just went online and pulled a random property. So I don't even know who this person is, but I'm going to type in name, first name, last name. So I can create a file. And I'm going to put in my email address because I don't want her getting anything. And I'm just going to save it since she's our test. So then you've got these different tabs that run across the top of the screen here. And pages is where Vicki, you will want to see. These are all the different pages you can put into your market evaluation. And it automatically comes with a cover sheet with a photo, a price adjustment sheet, a pricing recommendation sheet, and a CMA map. And I recommend going in here and printing these off or saving them as a PDF so you can see what they look like. They don't have ways of actually viewing what each page looks like unless you save it. But what I do is if you click the plus sign next to each one of these subject lines, it opens up multiple pages. So if you've never been in here before, add every single one and then figure out what you like and what you don't like. So what was the one that you were creating your own spreadsheet for?
Well, a lot of it was the information so they could kind of compare
Okay.
Square footage, bedrooms, when it came on the market, how many days it was on the market. Things like
Okay.
that, you know.
So what we're going to do today, just so that we have all the reports, is we're going to close the window and we're just going to select every single one of these, and it's going to add every single page that falls under that category. So now we've got a really big CMA that we're not going to use every page for, but we can delete out what we don't need. So we're going to enter in the subject property, and I happen to know that when this person called me, we're pretending, she said, we bought this home back in 2016. So I know that this was already in the MLS. So I'm going to go onto MLS, I'm going to pull the listing number, and it's going to auto-populate all of the property information so I don't have to hand enter it. So let's do that real quick. And we're going to fill. So now it uploads the photo, I'm going to take out the sold status, uploads the property address, the remarks, everything about the home. And I can go through and double check and make sure that all those features look right. Then we move over to our cover page. And if you have your photo and contact information in here, it will automatically populate that, and it will add the contact information for the client if you entered that in the beginning like we did. So now we get to our comparables. We only have 2, so we're going to use both. We've got our map, which shows where they reside in relationship to the subject property, which is the blue line, the blue bubble. We can go in and make adjustments. And because we don't have enough time to go through all the mechanics of this, we're not going to review the photos. We're not going to pull up the old listing photos of this property and figure out what it has versus what the other ones had. But you could go in here and adjust for road noise if it backs to a street, or maybe it doesn't have the upgrades that another one does. You can put those in here when you go into detail mode. And so you can make some adjustments. And on Elevate, under our training tab, under our how-to button, there are CMA tools in there under the seller side how-tos. There's a CMA adjustment spreadsheet, which use cautiously because not all of the numbers in there are concrete. It depends on market and it depends on size of home, but it will tell you that a bedroom is worth about X amount. So if you're comping a 3-bedroom home and you pull up a comp that's a 4-bedroom home, how much more value does that house have? Approximately $5,000. So there is a 5-page spreadsheet on lot size, square footage, kitchen remodels, bathroom remodels, all kinds of different stuff. So if you want to make adjustments, you can. And then in here, it will tell you your median, your average, your high pricing, and then you can actually type a suggested list price. So you could do a nice description based upon my market expertise, my knowledge, the sales data. I recommend a listing price between X and X, and that will put it into your report. And once you get all this information in here, you just hit the finish button, and you can either email the CMA or view it. And we'll just go to view, and then I can show you all these different pages. But again, it takes a lot of time to go through, drive past these houses, look at the photos, really compare what does your potential listing have, positive or negative, that's going to bring it more value or less value. So let's download this and take a look at it. So here's the cover page. Nice, tasteful, shows the subject property, prepared exclusively for Juliet, who prepared the market evaluation, contact information, and the photo. Very similar to RPR. Here's another style of a cover page. So depending on which cover page you like better, it gives you multiple options. And then we go into all of our charts. So this is the summary page of the listings. Just a button. You don't have to do your own spreadsheet now.
Stacey, you use the cover page from RPR, don't you?
Yes, I personally like the look of the RPR cover page. I mean, this one here on Matrix is very nice as well, but my preference is to RPR. So what I do is I go into RPR, I download the RPR report, and I merge the cover page from RPR into my report.
Oh, okay.
So it takes a little extra work to cut and paste and merge documents, but for me, I just like the look of it better. So for example, I'll show you what RPR, you can go to create a report, and they do have a seller's report, a property report. They also now have a market activity report.
I think their report, some of their reports are a bit too, there's too many pages.
Yeah, they do have a lot of data. And again, you know, depending on area that you're trying to compare, RPR, when you try and comp the Highlands Range Town Center, it pulls single family homes that are across the other side of Lucent. And
Yeah.
that's, if you sit down with a seller and show them single family homes on the other side of the community, they're gonna go, you are not a local market expert.
No.
I'm gonna let the RPR report download, and then when it's ready, I'll show you guys what that one looks like. And actually, here we go. So this particular one is just for Littleton 80129. It's a market activity report, so not specific to that property. So it shows the whole area that we're looking at. And then it has some charts and graphs in here. Change from last month, change from last quarter, change from last 12 months. So yeah, RPR is a very powerful tool, but I pick and choose how I use the data in it. But the statistics I do really like. So let's go back to Matrix here real quick. So we've done our CMA, we downloaded it. This page shows your minimums and maximums. I don't like this page, I take it out. I think it's confusing, but it will show you where your listing prices fall on the properties, where the average sales price is, number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms. I think it's kind of redundant from the other information and it's not very pretty. So I never put that one in. This is your days on market chart. So you're familiar with that one. Your price graph. Your brief summary.
Is it easy to pull a page, like just, I don't want this page in there, and you just pull out that page?
If you're a Mac user, it's really easy. So for Mac users, and I don't know how to do it on a PC, so I apologize, but for a Mac user, up here in the left-hand corner, you can show your thumbnail of slides. So for example, I've got 2 cover pages here. I want to go with this top one. I can delete out that next one, and it moves the next page up. I can delete out minimums and maximums and pull it up. And if I want to add in a document, so say this is a completely different, well, let's just do this one. Say I want to add in a copy of county records at the end of my report. I can drag the file in and we'll put it right here. And so now it goes straight in to the document. So yeah, super easy to manipulate around. Or sometimes I don't like the order that they put these in. So I want this before that so I can manipulate it around on the side.
So they're not numbered on the pages, so you can just print what you want.
Exactly. Yep, none of them have page numbers in the bottom. So you can move them around. So then the CMA Pro Report, I always like printing this one. It tells a little more detailed information about the property. This one I don't think is a super mandatory one. Let's get rid of it. Let's get rid of it. But I really like this chart and a more breakdown on sale to list price and price per square foot. Some people really like that price per square foot number. So being able to identify that and show that. Again, all of your activity versus timing charts, and there's a lot of these different ones. So I'll show you these. Effects of overpricing. And I wouldn't include, a lot of these say the exact same thing, just in different words or different pictures. So pull 1 or 2 of them, but don't use all of them because then it is so redundant. Benefits of using a realtor. That could be powerful in your listing presentation. An explanation of the market evaluation. I never put this one in because I sit down and explain it, so I don't need a document to tell people what I'm going to explain. So I take that one out. Importance of pricing, asking price versus percentage of buyers. Another good chart. We showed you this one earlier. But yeah, they just have a lot of different charts and graphs that you can use to articulate pricing. Where commission goes, I don't think that's really of any importance. But if you have someone who's trying to negotiate your commission, maybe it would help paint the picture that you don't get that full 6%. It does go out to other places. We'll take that one out. Source of buyers, where do they come from? 51% come from the internet, 34% from a real estate agent, yard signs. Steps to a positive showing. Talked about that a little bit earlier. What it takes to show. And then this is the one where if you're going to do price adjustments, this is a great page to include because it will show the adjusted values in the chart. So say one house backs to or fronts to a park, it will show that it's, you know, valued at $5,000 higher because of the location. And it'll make the adjustments down here and modify your price. Then you've got your pricing recommendation, and this is where you can type in what you've analyzed and why you think it should be listed at a certain range. And then these were just the pages that I played around with and added in. And that's it. So get into Matrix and play around. And then also, if you haven't been on RPR, I mean, it really is a fantastic tool, especially if you're doing open houses and you want to just know information about a neighborhood, just properties in general. You can do mini reports, you can do property flyers in here. There's some really cool tools. Any questions? That was a lot of information.
It's a good review, thank you.
Yeah, I love them.
To take pages out of that matrix report,
Yeah.
if you don't have a Mac, I think you have to go back to that pages where you initially select them, and you have to take them off.
Yes, and you can definitely do that. You can go into this part and say, I don't want the minimum and maximum charge, so I'm gonna delete it using the red X. I don't want the activity versus timing, I can delete it. So yeah, you can definitely figure out which pages you want to use on a regular basis and template it out from the beginning.
Can you rearrange them there?
You cannot rearrange, to my knowledge.
Yeah, I
Nope,
think you
you
can.
can't. Can you? Oh, maybe you can.
Yeah.
There you go. Yep, you can rearrange them. So yeah, you can move stuff up and down. Let's see. I don't think we have any questions online that I can see. All right.
There is one.
Thank you.
Anna, do you have a question?
You are adding statistics into your notes. Are you taking all of those statistics from RPR report or from Denmark also?
So the statistics that we read in that email were from the RPR report.
Okay.
I do take statistics from DMAR, but those specific ones were straight from RPR. So for example, I'll just go ahead and pull that evaluation up and show you where I got that. So I told them that it looked like the price of their home had gone up $7,200 in the last month. That was from this number. And that the price of their home had gone up 12% in the last year. That was from this number. And then I created my own range in MLS when I said it looks like homes in your square footage and your number of bedrooms are going from 300 to 330. I used my own range for that.
Okay.
Good question. Any others?
One more about statistics. So if you need to have statistics regarding specific city or even a neighborhood, where can you get this so those are easily readable? Would that be from Denmark? Because I was looking and they list by county, but I had trouble to find like neighborhoods, very small areas.
Yeah, you really have to do, Matrix does have its own statistic tab in there, so you can pull statistics for a zip code, for a geographic area that you create by drawing lines on a map, and you have to do that all through the statistics side. Taking a class from RE Colorado on how to do that is really, really helpful because there's so many different charts that you can do and so much information. But if you want a quick snapshot of a city or a county, like you were mentioning, I recommend going to DMAR's website, which is dmarealtors.com, or even Smedra, which is smedra.com, or CAR, Colorado Association of Realtors, because you can download their market trends, and it has their city and county market trends reports.
Okay, so that means there's very small areas. I really have to do it myself.
Yes, you have to do it yourself, unfortunately.
Okay.
So yeah, you can pull downloadable versions of Adams County, Rockwell County, Arvada, Aurora, all kinds of different cities and states. So. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate you.
Thank you, Stacey.
Yeah, and if anybody has any other questions, feel free to email me, call me, or shoot me a text. So thank you.
Stacey, will you send those templates to us? Can you?
Which templates?
The one that you were pretty much introducing to us. The big templates with emails and all.
Oh, yes, I'd be happy to.
Okay, I'll send you my email.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stacey.
Awesome.
Hey, Stacey.
Yes.
Well, so is this going to be on a YouTube video now?
Yes, so I will take this, we're currently recording, I'll stop the recording here in a second, and then we're going to upload it to YouTube, and so it'll be available here in a couple days.
Terrific. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thanks for joining in.
Bye.
I got all these questions. There were a couple. Good class. Oh, thank you very much.
I like working with you.
Thank you.
You know, I used to do it. You know, kind of more with, disadvantaged adults.
Okay. Come visit one of our, I'm gonna be in, I'll tell you which one I'll be in, because I'm assistant chair in one of them, but.
You were telling me the other day, you have to tour that, Ready to Work or something, nonprofit. Did you do that already?
Not yet, not yet.
I'd be curious to see how that turns out, because it's the one right there by 9 Mile bus terminal. Somewhat familiar with.
I didn't go to my last Rotary meeting, so I know.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me, I gotta go.
I didn't either, and I won't be at the one this next week too, but
Okay. Oh, we'll chat more.
yeah.
Sounds good.
All right.
Hi, good morning. This is Angie Durga.